if we look at each week, it's like, okay, we have 4 ads that we can clone. So now we got 20 more ads. We have 2 that we have to pause and then clone another one. Now we have 25 more ads. So we have 25 clones and 10 shut off. So we're still heading in the right direction. So that's kind of how we're looking at it is first click accrual, 7-day look back, and CACs inside of Wicked. If it's below 300, it gets cloned. If it's above 300, it gets paused. I'll share with you how we are making our judgment decisions. And this is another sheet that I think that if everyone wanted to follow this model, so I'll share screen again.
Yep.
If everyone's gonna be following this model, this is kind of what we're looking at here. So these are the NCACs each week. So this is performance. So we have our ad and we have what campaign it's in.
Yep.
And right now status is off because it was above 300. This one, Diane, is on, below, above and above. But now this is the action. These are new, but now this new one here is already beating these new ones here. So right now, Kim and Haley are not doing well. Anne is doing good. Liz is not produced anything so far and has spent 500. So it's actually doing the worst. So what's nice is if we look at each week, it's like, okay, we have 4 ads that we can clone. So now we got 20 more ads. And then we have 2 that we have to pause and then clone another one. Now we have 25 more ads. So we have 25 clones and 10 shut off. So we're still heading in the right direction. So that's kind of how we're looking at it is first click accrual, 7-day look back, and CACs inside of Wicked. If it's below 300, it gets cloned. If it's above 300, it gets paused.
Gets killed. Yeah.
Exactly. Because then you can see what the spend versus new customers, like, yeah, these are all great. Like, let's continue to clone them.
Perfect.
So it's a really nice, easy way to kind of take everything out of the reporting tool and put it in there and just set up your rules. If it's above, if it's below, this is what you do. And you can essentially hire an in-house talent to just continually monitor and optimize these. So it's once you set up a really good threshold for benchmarking, it's just continued.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. And the strategy is you are cloning the ad, not the ad set. Or are you
We're cloning the ad set.
Okay, it's the ad set, but each ad set has an individual person on it. Whoever the spokesperson is for that particular ad. So you are actually cloning the ad set. I think there was a question that was, which are you cloning?
Yeah, so 1 ad per ad set, and it's ABO, so it's ad set basically optimized. So as soon as that ad is showing, good performance, that ad set that has that ad in it gets cloned, and whatever it was spending is now doubled.
Yeah. Have you tried this against just budget scaling, like as opposed to clone scaling? Just good old clone scale. I mean,
oh yeah,
tripling your budget, like doing any of those sort of radical things. Like if you're duplicating it 2 or 3 times, like what would happen if you did the same thing? Like in essence, you're just adding budget. Like you've got $100 a day, you clone it 3 times. What if you just took that $100 a day and made it into $400 a day?
Yep. So a few things. We've tried every scenario that you've mentioned. And what we noticed is that in the times that we try to scale, it would get warmer traffic and less first click NCAC, but more second and third and fourth click NCAC. So what we end up finding is that as you add in more ad spend, it's almost like in a L1 model or Advantage Plus model, wherever there was good traffic, Meta kind of knows that there's a bank of traffic here. And if you say increase ad spend there, it's like,
just gets more of that. As opposed to going out finding other areas. Yeah.
Right. And then we said, okay, well, what happens if we introduce new creative? Then what ended up happening was there was a good performing ad with half warm traffic. We produce new creative. That would be 80% cold. After 2 to 3 days, it would drop down to 40% cold. And then that would be the winner. The first click NCAC sucked, but the click attributed cash basis looked great. So it's like each time you produce a new creative, Meta just takes its chunk of people it already knows and just reallocates it for you.
Right.
So the only way that we found out how to get this to like at least 60% plus cold traffic continuously at scale is by cloning it, but also not allowing it to have, any sort of like Advantage Plus and anything that it can basically try to take back the control. So I force spend on it and look at it. so I force spend on it, so it has to go to cold traffic. And then I when we're cloning it 5 times and also using non-advantage plus, it's something where it's measured by if this is cold, if this is the first time they've seen it, if it's the first time they clicked, and I have 5 data points for each ad, I have enough to say it's either collectively good or collectively bad.
Right.
And it's worked so far perfectly 100% of the time. Like there has been no fault. It's either a complete 5 and it's a pass or fail. If it's pass, it can be cloned. So far we've cloned it 15 times so far without having any sort of diminishing returns.
And these are massive audiences. This is open targeting. It's like what, 300 million?
Yes, if you
it's crazy. Yeah, right. Absolutely crazy. So like if you understand, you sort of reverse engineer that. When you start an ad and it does well, like in that 300 million, I always sort of think, all right, well, that ad found this little pocket right here. And that little pocket might be cold, but to start, but the more budget you give it, it's going to say, oh crap, I got to find more people that look like that. Now I'm going to go after the warm audiences because you've already trained it. And it's like, what's the easiest path for me to get more conversions is to go after people who have, are obviously you're using exclusions here, but we know exclusions don't necessarily work, and really creating exclusions, they're going to go find people that have maybe bought before, familiar with your brand. But by cloning it, you're saying start another circle somewhere else within that pool of 300 million. And that's what makes the strategy work. And they're finding cool people there in a different spot. It's like you find a fishing hole that works, you stay there all day, you just keep adding bait, you're going to catch a lot of fish, but you might catch a fish and then release it and then catch the same one again. You need to go to a different part of the pond to find different fish.
Exactly.
So like logically this makes sense. And this is so cool because it's like we didn't really know until we had these NCAC versus all CAC or percentage of cold versus warm. We didn't know what we were doing 5 or 6 years ago. We were doing
right.
But now we actually do because we've got the data that shows it. It's like, all of a sudden you add more budget, you're just getting more warm. But when you go, you actually duplicate it, clone it, start in a different area inside that huge pool of audience. You're actually working with the algorithm to find the people that have never actually interacted with the brand before. It's now it makes total sense. But before I didn't know why it worked. Now we kind of know why it works.
Right. And so that's what I like about this whole situation is the being able to kind of take it back from Meta means that we're able to scale without having to, just end up paying more than everyone else, because we're going up against like the powerhouses of the industry, like everyone else is. But that's also why everyone else can't scale. It's like the powerhouse is like, I'm going to take 9 out of 10 and here's your 1. Like it's as soon as someone starts to interact with an ad, it's a no holds bar through advantage plus of, hey, Ralph clicked on an ad. Hey, everybody that's selling something close to it, everyone target Ralph. And now you're just a free for all of ads. And it's and that's usually why creative wins. Yeah. But if the creative is actually working well, I should be able to kind of outpace and outscale, hopefully that a bit, because if I'm continually adding in more and more audiences, I'm capturing more of I'm still doing demand capture. It's not demand generation, because it's right now, if you have a pet that has, kind of these issues and you want that supplement, which is a lot more than what we're able to tap into so far. Like our scale is fairly high. Our market cap's really big because it's like any dog over 7 essentially. So millions and millions and millions of people, but that's what we are able to now force ourselves into tap into, rather than just getting a finite group of audience to be reallocated to the new ad that we had.